What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got the new engine for my Subaru BRZ, so without any delay, let's go ahead and get this thing unwrapped and let's see what we got. Alright, so what is this? You might be asking. Well, this is a K24A2 out of a mid-2000s Acura TSX. Now, you may be wondering why I would go with a Honda K-Series over something like the 2JZ or even a Chevy LS. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. The thing about a 2J, right, is it's known for being able to hold massive amounts of power, which is awesome. Super cool, don't get me wrong. But for what I'm going for, my goals for the car is not to have just a horsepower monster. This is like my street, mountain driving, and potentially a little bit of track time, like fun car. I didn't want it to be like 800 horsepower, just like drag strip monster, or like, you know, interstate, like roll racing type of build. I wanted it to be more of like, you know, just a really solid, really well put together street build with somewhere in the realm of 400 to 450 horsepower at the wheels. Now, the 2JZ can get you that easy, don't get me wrong. The LS can get you that easy for sure. The thing about the 2JZ is they're incredibly expensive these days. Trying to get one would be like 7,000-ish, give or take, if you can find one. And that's a VVTi version, you know, imported from Japan out of a Toyota Aristo. Not the non-VVTi version that like most, you know, domestic Supras have. So, and sure, I could go LS, you know, but to me, the LS swap is just a little bit overdone. I mean, it's a fantastic platform. It's gonna be super reliable just because of how simple and efficient it is. But the K24 with a turbo setup, to me, just has a little bit more personality. And it's really not like these engines are not capable. The K20s and the K24s are known for being able to get, you know, anywhere in the realm of 550 to 600 horsepower at the wheels on a stock block without pulling, you know, rods, pistons, as long as you don't have, you know, that pretty much requires a turbo setup. So as long as you don't have your torque like coming in super hard at any one time, you know, your rods are gonna be good, generally speaking, up to, you know, at least 500 horsepower at the wheels, which is, for me, would be, you know, plenty for what I'm going for this build. So when I was looking at all my options and the cost of like doing a swap and what kits are out there to do a swap, the K24 like came in line with the budget, came in line for the power goals. It's definitely a little bit different from what you tend to see with these cars. And I think it's gonna be a really, really cool option to swap into this, considering the Turbo FA20 is no longer viable. And so really the plan for this thing is to, you know, obviously scrap the stock manifold, put on a turbo manifold, and get a turbo that's, you know, relatively small when it, you know, when you think about like turbo sizes, especially for making like big power. But what I want to have is something like a precision 5858, something that's, you know, going to be capable of 600 horsepower if you know, absolutely max it out, but is going to have like a really nice response. It isn't going to have a bunch of turbo lag or anything, but it's going to be a really, really great option for the street. But with that in mind, there's a lot of stuff that needs to come off. There's a lot of work that needs to happen just on this engine before I can even, you know, think about putting it in there. we're gonna need new pulleys pretty much across the board. We're obviously gonna have to get a new belt for that as well. The accessories are probably gonna have to be replaced. I believe they work, but you know, if I'm gonna be replacing all this stuff anyway, I might as well get something that's gonna be basically brand new and is gonna last a good long while. And so normally these engines go in the engine bay like this. They're normally transverse mounted. And so in order to convert that to a rear wheel drive setup for the BRZ, it's gonna have to be longitudinally mounted, how you would normally see like a 2J or an RB26 would be mounted essentially long ways in the engine bay. And so, you know, that requires basically a full swap kit. You have to have engine mounts, transmission mounts. The intake is gonna have to be different, considering I need the intake to effectively come in from this direction, because the car or the engine is gonna be mounted. This is effectively the front of the engine now, and then this is the back of the engine. So the intake actually needs to come out and come to the side. And so K-Power makes a rear wheel drive intake manifold that pretty much everybody uses nowadays for, you know, converting K24s, you know, swapping them into rear wheel drive platforms like the BRZ, swapping them into like 240SXs, swapping them into Miatas. And so they've already got an intake that is perfect for like converting this to a rear wheel drive setup. Obviously like the turbo will come out this side, and then this will now be the back of the block. So need a new flywheel because that's not good, as you guys can see. This is a JDM import, and so it only has about 50 or maybe 55,000 miles on it. So, you know, if I was to go to like a junkyard and pull one of these out of an Acura TSX, or even if I got like a K20 out of a Civic or something like that, there's a pretty good chance that it's gonna have way more miles than that. Because of the fact that the K20s and the K24s are so reliable, you know, you would probably only be able to get a hold of them from, you know, if you're pulling one from a junkyard or whatever it may be, you're probably gonna be looking at something in like 150,000 miles or maybe even more than that. So getting this from an importer in Phoenix, Arizona, actually, which is top tier, I wanna make sure I get this right. I believe it's Top Tier Japan LLC. I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can check it out if you want to, if you're interested in looking at what they've got in their inventory. If you guys are looking for an engine, they might have something that you're interested in. So yeah, it's very exciting. It's also very stressful of like, now I have the engine, I just bought the transmission, which is going to be a 2006 350Z manual transmission. It's the CD009. It's, you know, and then that transmission on its own is known for being able to hold upwards of 800 horsepower, like without replacing any of the internals in the trans, synchros, gears, any of that. So that's on the way. I think that's gonna be about another week to get here. And then I've got to get the swap kit. I've been doing tons and tons of research on, you know, all the different parts I need, from the intake manifold, the exhaust manifold, fuel rails, the, you know, oil and the coolant lines, and, you know, how all that's gonna sort of work and convert once we toss it into this thing. So it's definitely super exciting to think about like what it's gonna be like when it's done, but we've got a lot of work to get there. So if you guys wanna see more, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get to kind of follow the journey and see the whole build as it progresses. But most importantly, you'll get to see what it looks like at the end of the road when it's hopefully making somewhere in the realm of 400 to 450 horsepower at the wheels with the nice spoolie turbo on it. So yeah, definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Pretty soon there's gonna be a video of me pulling the turbo FA20 out of the Subaru, and really I'm gonna see like if anybody wants a used turbo kit, I'll sell it for whatever I can get it for. The manual trans is still good, and you know, maybe somebody wants to give me a couple $100 for a blown FA20. But anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave it a thumbs up down below. Leave me a comment on what you think about this new engine, and I'll see you guys on the next one.